What's up everyone, back for another beer review, and today is day 2 of the 6th annual 10 Days of Pumpkin here on the channel. And the beer I'm reviewing today once again comes from Energy City Brewing, and they're out of Batavia, Illinois, and this is their Bistro Pumpkin Cobbler, and this is the 2023 release. So they're calling this one a Berliner style Weisse beer with pumpkin, spice, and natural flavors. It comes in at 6.5% alcohol by volume. No IBUs listed. Time of review. This can is approximately 5 weeks old. However, it has a best by date of, wait for it, March 14th of 2025. So I think we're okay. And I want to give a huge thanks and shout out to a couple viewers of the channel for recommending and reminding me about this beer. First and foremost, Chris Sheldon, who mentioned this one last November, and he said he was going to send me one if he could find any cans laying around. I think this was like maybe late November, and he couldn't. So that was a bummer, but I was like, you know what, I'll put it in the back of my mind and keep an eye out for this year. However, I kind of forgot about it because I'm old. And another viewer of the channel, S.B, less than 2 weeks ago, made a comment asking me if I could get my hands on this and another beer, and he reminded me like, oh hey, we get Energy City Brewing occasionally here in Buffalo, New York. So when I walked to my local bottle shop to get a couple more beers for the 10 Days of Pumpkin, they had a couple 4-packs of this in the cooler, so I grabbed a single can. So huge thanks to Chris and SB for not only recommending this beer, but reminding me I get a chance to try it. And I've only had one other like smoothie/slushy sour ale that contains pumpkin, and that was last year for the 10 Days of Pumpkin. I reviewed Imprint's Schmoogie, their pumpkin pie cheesecake, I think it was called. It was pretty good, a little bit too sweet. I think Energy City will do a better job of like balancing the sour and the sweetness because they actually have a Berliner Weisse base. So I'm really looking forward to this. One discrepancy between this and like their IG and Untappd, they say they brew this one with vanilla or add, because these aren't really brewed with it. They brew a Berliner Weisse and then they mix it with like fruit puree and spices and whatnot. But they say vanilla on IG, and I believe Untappd on here it just says natural flavors, so probably part of the natural flavors. Anyway, the glass I'm using could be a little longer review, but I want to talk about this glass. This was sent to me by a very good friend of mine and fellow beer tuber Mike over at FLX Beer Reviews, and this is from the Bill Burr Samuel Adams Jack O skit that was what, 2020, I think it was 2020. And I actually reviewed that beer before that skit came out, but I hadn't, or no, after that skit came out, but I hadn't watched it yet. I had it on DVR and I just hadn't watched it yet. So a lot of people were referencing the skit, and then I watched it. I was like, oh my God, I would have made so many references to this skit in that beer. But this has a couple of the scenes from it on the glass. It's not going to show up probably great on my camera because I have it, you know, like the focus is, it's not like autofocus, it's just where it is. But the first one says, is today the day you take a swing at your old man? One of the best parts of it. He spits out the beer and says, the fuck is this shit? And then this is great where he starts rambling. He says, this is the kind of beer that somebody brings to a party at your house and it just sits in the fridge for like 8 months. Yeah, they tore up Jack-O. I'm not a huge fan of Jack-O. It was all right, but it was that, I love Bill Burr, and that skit, top tier. Thanks again to Mike for the glass. So I thought I would use it the first time I'm using it on camera. And yeah, I had this upside down in my fridge, so hopefully all the sediment, and oh, it didn't open all the way. All right, we'll do something like that. Give it a pour here. It's kind of looking like orange juice, if we're being honest here. See how much fits in here. And more sludge at the bottom. I think it's going to be able to fit everything. I think this is like a 16-ounce glass. Yep. Great. Nice. So that looked like orange juice pouring out. Now it looks like more like a mango juice. But yeah, that looks like one of... I just took a taste of that. That's crazy. So first things first, there are little specks of, you know, could be vanilla bean, could be just random spices, could be a lot of stuff. This has that dark, almost like papaya flesh looking color, like a over ripened mango color. Definitely is almost like a carrot juice or something, but maybe not as bright. Definitely dull, like a dull. I don't want to call it what it looks like. Let's just say it doesn't look great. I had about a half finger of an, I would say like a lightly yellow colored head, has the bubbles at the top, which again, my camera's not great, but there's bubbles. There's fruit pectin all around the glass, and it looks fantastic in this glass, to be honest with you. Perfect in glass. Let's get a nose. Okay, how do I say this? This is, on that first aroma, maybe the best smelling pumpkin beer of all time. It smelled, now I've said this before in reviews, pumpkin beer reviews, I'm sure you, The last couple times, dude, like, what is that? That's a truck or something. I don't know what's happening out here. But they need to fix that. Anyway, I'll say something like, oh, this beer smells like pumpkin pie without the crust or with the crust or with vanilla. This legit smells like someone took a piece of pumpkin pie and blended it in front of me and just put it in a glass. It smells exactly like pumpkin pie filling with vanilla with like a graham cracker crust, to a T. It's sweet, it's savory. I'm getting more nutmeg and probably allspice than anything. Vanilla's big. Dude, it's making my mouth water. That smells like the perfect dessert beer. Now, I just gave Energy City props because I said a lot of their bistro beers, because they're a Berliner Weisse base, I feel like they balance out that sourness with the sweetness from all the adjuncts. A lot of breweries don't do that. That aforementioned Schmoogie from Imprint totally was way too sweet. I only wanted like 6 to 8 ounces. I want a half a can, a third of a can, right? If they can somehow balance that out in this beer, this is a 5 out of 5. For what this style is, 100%. So I'm hoping it is. Please, please be as good as it smells, please. Anyway, cheers everybody. Thanks again to Chris and S.B for the recommendation and for the reminder, because I would have totally forgotten. Cheers. Yep. Energy City. This is why I really dig their bistro series, but also I think the fact they use a Berliner Weisse base as opposed to just a generic kettle sour, which Berliner Weisse using wheat, but I like that they call it an actual Berliner Weisse as opposed to just a kettle sour, just a generic sour ale. There is a substantial firm tartness to this base, which stops it from being over the top crazy sweet. I'm going to be able to drink the rest of this can, I'm pretty sure. At the very least, I'm probably going to be able to take 10 to 12 ounces of this down, which is a victory in itself for these beers. But let's go with a proper review. Body, it's thick. This is like medium full, maybe too quite full bodied. It's not super thick and like fruit smoothie-esque, like over the top, but it's thick enough to let you know, hey, this is one of those beers. The mouthfeel, nice carbonation, mild to moderate, approaching moderate, very smooth and creamy though from the puree. They do a great job with it. The taste, this is not going to be a very hard beer to decipher. Front to back, this is pumpkin pie in a glass with a firm sourness. So it's everything you want in the pumpkin pie. It's a pumpkin pie filling, including the spices. It's the whipped cream dollop you'll get on top, or some of you will go overboard with it. It's the graham cracker crust. Not even a graham cracker crust. It's more of a, just like a regular, like flaky, I want to say buttery, because buttered beer is not ideal, but it has just like that flaky pastry kind of crust. The first 3/4 of palate is all of that, and it's intertwined, it's cohesive, it's mixing together, it's beautiful. And then on the back of the palate, that punch of bitterness or sourness hits you. And again, it's more of a firm tartness into a low sourness. This finishes with no bitterness to speak of, but it has like a, I will say, a semi-dry kind of finish. So the tartness along with the semi-dry finish and a little bit of acidity on the back of the palate balances out. Is this still sweet? Yes. And going into something like this, when I'm talking about balancing out this beer, I go into these beers knowing this is essentially a pastry sour, okay? But the difference between, in my opinion, a good pastry sour and a great pastry sour is a good pastry sour is going to have fantastic flavors, but just be too sweet. A great or phenomenal or top tier world-class pastry sour is going to be something like this, where you get that base sour beer. It's not overblown. It actually breaks up the monotony of all the sweet adjuncts that you're drinking, and it makes it, and here's the key thing, drinkable. And this to me is drinkable. I drank maybe like 3 or 4 ounces, and it's going down so nicely. You can debate, you can talk about whether this is beer or not, or whatever the case may be. At least with Energy City, they tell you the base is a beer. Does it taste like one? Not really. But this is just like someone took, I don't know, it's almost like a pumpkin pie smoothie if they existed, or like a pumpkin pie parfait. If someone came up with a parfait and they put like real pumpkin in it and like pumpkin spices and whatnot, pumpkin pie spices, that's kind of what this is. And it is extremely tasty. And this is better than an Imprint from last year, significantly better, and kind of encompasses what I'd want out of something that's calling itself basically a pumpkin pumpkin smoothie beer, right? Even though they don't specify. They just called it flavored Berliner style Weisse out. This is delicious, 6.5%, can't really tell. I'm going to drink the rest of this slowly though, because it is a dessert. I'm imagining it's like 500-600 calories a can, 6.5%. All the fruit puree and all the sweetness in here for sure. But again, very well balanced, and this is probably the best I've had of the two. Now I want to try more of these pumpkin smoothie sour ales, because I think it might just be really good. So Bistro Pumpkin Cobbler, the 2023 release from Energy City. Absolutely no issues whatsoever given this beer right here. I'm going to give this beer a low 4.75. I'm going to go 4.7. That's what I know that sounds crazy, but for what, if stylistically this is almost a 5. Like maybe a little bit thicker, you could argue, with the body. As somebody who likes really thick, maybe, I don't know. Outside of that, like I don't have many complaints. So this gets a 4.7. I didn't think I was going to say that. Price point availability, I paid $6.99 for that can, $7 a can. A lot of these are, $22 to $25 a 4-pack at the brewery. So gets distro, you're talking $7 a can. I'm okay with that. That's $28 a 4-pack. That's fine to try. Would I buy this again? Probably, especially if I wanted somebody to try it. Be like, hey, try this out, see what you think. Really good. And availability, it's Energy City. I know they get distro now in a lot of different states. Here in the Buffalo, New York area, we get drops occasionally from them, and I'm happy we got this one because it is honestly tasty. So if you've had this one before, post in comment section. Did you have the prior releases of this? Did you have this year's release? What do you think about it? Especially if you're somebody who maybe doesn't go for this style, and you were gonna say you like Energy City, and you like their smoothies, but you don't like pumpkin beers. Did you try this? What do you think? I know I'm pretty sure that Chris really liked this one and thought it was quite delicious. And I think SB said he also enjoyed it. Maybe he didn't specify, but he recommended it. So maybe it's something he enjoys as well. So yeah, I'm digging this one. It's going to be hard to beat this year, I think, because this is just exactly what I wanted out of this beer for the most part. So 4.7 out of 5. Anyway, that does it for a day 2 of the 10 days, the 6th annual 10 Days of Pumpkin here on the channel. Check back tomorrow. I'm going to be reviewing Pumpkin Escobar, which is a coffee pumpkin porter from Prison City. And we'll see what they have to offer with that one. Anyway, appreciate it. To the next one. Cheers.